quiet. The more traditional long-bladed planers are super loud. You probably even want earplugs in at this point. You'll notice that this bit gets stuck like that. If that happens, just hit it and it'll go. Now, what you see here is it's got a bunch of lines in it. If it's got a bunch of lines in it, it means I didn't take enough off. Those lines are the rollers. You press it into this to make sure it doesn't kick back from you, and they're designed to get cut off. But since I've got these lines in here, it means I didn't take quite enough off. So now I have one really sharp, clean edge, and I flip it over. Each turn of this handle is 1/16 of an inch. So I go a 16th more. And now I've got a board with perfect edges on it. In fact, if you would run your finger down there quick, I'll guarantee it'll cut it wide open. It's a really sharp square edge, which is really important when we're building a face frame to make sure that face frame looks good. We will take that sharpness off of it before we're done with the project, but for right now, we need it. Any questions on the planer? All right, we're going to move over to the time saver. And as we're coming over to the time saver, all of the controls are right here. So if you want to see the controls, you may want to swing around to the side over here. I'll do my best to explain them, so if we all can't get over there, I will be able to hopefully explain it well enough for you.
It's kind of a problem spot.
Huh?
That may not be the best.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's not the worst spot.
It's still bad.
This is my best work, this
You'll be able
one.
to see a whole bunch.
When you first said that, I thought you talked about me as a person. I didn't realize I was in the way of this. I was like, what?
No, not you. All right. So when we come up to the time saver, remember it's Wide Belt Sander is the name of it. Time Saver is the brand name. It says Time Saver right here because it holds back the hands of time. It actually saves us a whole bunch of time. Some of us are probably thinking, what does it do? If you look on the wall over there, we got those big wide belt sanding belts. This Time Saver sands stuff that's up to 42 inches wide, and the belt is 60 inches around in a continuous loop. So that big belt is right here, and it spins really quick. On our old version of the Time Saver, I can open this up and you can see into it, but on this one, it's just electrical panel. You can't really see inside of it, so opening it up won't do me much good. If you are curious, you can pop open the side panel and look in there. Just don't do it while it's running. That would actually add some fun to it, but it wouldn't be the safest. On the Time Saver, this is number 10, do not use the emergency stop as the normal shutdown. You know how to do this already, right? Providence showed you how to use the Time Saver. Okay. The emergency stop is right here, and there's several of them around the machine. If you go to try to turn the machine on, and it won't turn on, it's probably because one of these emergency stop buttons has been pushed. Once it's been pushed, it just needs to get twisted, and then it pops back out. This is like the emergency brake on your car. You're not going to use that when you come up to a stoplight. You use the regular brakes to do that to slow the car down. This is only for an emergency. Like maybe you're taking way too much off and it's burning through the sandpaper on the belt, or maybe your shirt is caught on it and you need to stop it so it doesn't rip your shirt, or something is wrong, it doesn't sound right, then you can use this. Otherwise, there's two red stop buttons here. One stops the conveyor belt and one stops the sanding head. Use those and then it coasts to a stop instead of having the brakes thrown on and stopping it immediately. And it doesn't stop instantly, but it does slow down pretty quick. Number 11, if the belt breaks, turn the machine off. Okay, I can't stress that if a belt breaks, everybody's going to know. If it's a paper Time Saver belt, they just shatter into lots of little tiny pieces. If it's a cloth belt, they at least usually tear and they don't explode. We usually use cloth belts because they last a little bit longer, but we do have several paper belts as well. Number 12 and number 14 are the same. only turn the height of the adjustment wheel 0.010, 10,000ths of an inch, or 1/4 turn. And I'll explain both of those in a second. So it's 10,000ths of an inch or 1/4 turn. And then number 13 says scrape off all dried glue before sanding. Don't close yours yet. I'll give you a second. I know I went too quick. 0.010, 10,000ths of an inch. Yes, you could say a tenth if you want. Or 100. A 10,000, so 0.010. 10,000ths.
So 100.
A 100. You'd rather do that. That's fine.
Why is the 5.010 not
What?
0.01?
Did you say to me?
When we're usually talking in machining and doing detailed work, usually in industry we talk about it in thousandths of an inch. So if you say 20,000ths of an inch, people know what that means. If you say 5,000ths of an inch, people know what that means. I guess that's just how we've always talked about it in the shops that I've worked in, and that's how I talk. Maybe it's not correct, but that's how we've always talked in the machine and wood shops that I've worked in. So to use this machine, there's kind of a long process, and it's at the bottom of that safety handout. I've also printed it out and put it right here. To start, we've got to turn on the master start and turn on the power. So the very bottom two buttons here, when you flip this one, it turns bright green, but nothing really happens. All that machine does is it starts the power. We now have power to the control panel, but when I push the master start, now this red light lights up and the screen lights up. Now it's ready to go. All I have to do is hit the go button for the head and the sander starts functioning. But before I do that, I need to know how big or how thick the piece of wood is that I'm going to send through here. So I'm going to grab this piece of wood again, sorry. And before we send anything through, we need to know how thick our board is. Otherwise, we wreck the machine. We can wreck what's called the platen head, that's the very bottom, or we can wreck the belt. So I've got up here is a caliper, and it's a dial caliper. We used to have digital calipers, but I had a lot of problems with them. Mainly people would drop them, the batteries would fall out, and people wouldn't look for them. So I have digital calipers that have no batteries or battery door to keep the battery in so they don't function. So we've switched over to this manual or dial caliper. If you've never used one of these before, they're super simple to understand. There's a QR code you can scan right here with your phone or your iPad. You can go to a YouTube video that gives you an up-close view on this. But generally speaking, to use this, we're now measuring in thousandths of an inch. So the first number that we look for, like right now, this is almost right on the 9. So there's a 1, there's a tall line that's got a 0 by it, and then shorter lines that have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then it goes to a tall one that says 1. Then it goes to short ones that say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. A tall one that says 2. So every time you get to one of those tall lines, that indicates another inch that you've gotten to. So if right now I'm on the small line 9, it means that I have not gotten this to an inch yet. So the first number in the decimal is what is right here. So right now I know I'm at 0.9 something, and then I look at the dial, and I can see the dial is pointing to the 10. So I'm at 0.910. I need to measure the thickness of my board. So I pull that and get it off, and I can see that I'm at about the 0.820. 0.820, or 820 we can call it. Now that I know that, I can punch the numbers into here and start sanding. My very first pass, what I set this to first,
Freshman style.
does anybody need to see the schedule? The schedule's up there.
If you haven't gone.
What are they talking about?
I I'm not going to mine tomorrow. I don't want to lose work.
So now we've got to use this and punch in the thickness of our board. So to do that, you can read the directions on your iPad. You can look up here or ask me. But my first pass is going to be at this 0.820, and it's usually the same for us. 0.820 is our first pass, and then after that we go 0.810 and 0.800 to finish up. That 10,000ths every pass. So, push the program button. It says probe. It's abbreviated. It's yellow. I push that. I hit 0.820 and then enter. And then the start button starts to blink. I push that. Now it's moving this table to exactly 0.820. Right? It'll do it exactly for you. It's super nice. Now this is set at 820. Then I can come over here, and I've got to push this red button that's lit up. This is the brake. Now listen when I push this. You get a little puff of air. It released the brake, so now the machine can turn on. I'm going to turn the belt on first because it's quieter. So I hit start feed, and this turns on. There is a dial right here that should be at the 3. It goes all the way up to 10, but that's way too fast for what we're doing in class. This needs to be at the 3. We started a fire in here last term because somebody did this, sent the board through too fast. The sander couldn't keep up with it. It created so much heat, it shot a spark into a pile of sawdust, and that burned for about 2 hours before I caught it. I couldn't figure out where that smell was coming from. So this should be at about 3, or a little bit less. So now this is on. Now when I turn on this, it's going to get a little noisier because it's a giant head that's spinning. We always want to make sure that the dust collector's on when we do this, or we're going to have problems with dust. I'm not actually going to send the board through because I don't need to dust you guys out of here. Now that's up to full speed and I can send my board through. So I'm going to say my board just got sent through. I can leave this on, but I'm going to turn it off so it's not so noisy when we're talking. Now I've got one side sanded. Now what I need to do is move my second pass to 810 and flip my board over. So I can do the program 0.810, enter, start, or I can just do this wheel right here. This is that wheel that we can turn that quarter turn. And I can get it to the 0.81. Oh, we'll get it to the 0. Oh. We're so close. No, that's close enough. So that's 810 or 8009. Just so you know, a thousandth of an inch. A blonde hair is the finest color of hair, and that's 3/1000ths of an inch. So we're talking something really thin here when we get this dialed in just right. So now my second pass is at 810. I'd run it through. Now you'll notice these numbers are different. The top number is the one that I had set on here. The bottom number is what it actually is at. When these are different, it means that you use the hand wheel to set the height, and that's not a problem at all. Then I can send my second pass through there. Any questions? All right, guys, go to get to work.